We're now moving on to the business statement. I call the Leader of the House, Penny Mordaunt.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 24th of October will include Monday the 24th of October, consideration of an out-of-turn supplementary estimates relating to Her Majesty's Treasury and the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, followed by proceedings on the Supply and Appropriation Adjustments Bill, followed by consideration of a resolution relating to stamp duty land tax reduction, followed by second reading of the Stamp Duty Land Tax Reduction Bill. Tuesday the 25th of October, second reading of the EU Retained Law Revocation and Reform Bill. Wednesday the 26th of October, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the Identity and Language Northern Ireland Bill Lords. Thursday the 27th of October, a debate on a motion on the National Food Strategy and food security, followed by a general debate on guaranteeing the right to maintain contact in care settings. These subjects were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 28th of October, private members' bills. The provisional business for the week commencing the 31st of October includes Monday the 31st of October, which is scheduled to be the day of the Chancellor's statement, remaining stages of the Genetic Technology Precision Breeding Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Product Security and Telecommunications Infrastructure Bill. Tuesday, the 1st of November, remaining stages of the Online Safety Bill. Wednesday, the 2nd of November, Opposition Day, debate on a motion in the name of the Scottish National Party, subject to be announced. Thursday, the 3rd of November, business to be determined by the Backbench Business Committee, and Friday, the 4th of November, the House will not be sitting.
Madam Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Leader of the House for the forthcoming business. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, where on earth do I start? Where? I mean, do we even still have a Prime Minister? This is the morning, well, now it's the afternoon after the morning after the night before, with the government seemingly falling to pieces before our very eyes. As some of their own backbenchers said yesterday, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. With a Home Secretary resigning amidst discussions of national security, a government seemingly unable even to organise against our motion to ban fracking, forced early morning hours clarifications from Downing Street, all in a day's work for this absolute disgrace of a government party who are simply unfit to govern. They are dragging this country's reputation through the mud, and the British people will never forgive them for it. British people are looking to the government for answers on how they're going to pay for their mortgage or their rent or their bills, which the government have sent sky high when they crashed the economy. Instead, chaos. Mr Deputy Speaker, Parliament ought to be a model workplace, so could the Leader confirm that reports of bad behaviour in the lobbies last night or outside the lobby will be investigated? Could she please put on record that in her view there is no place for intimidation and bullying on the parliamentary estate? And on the actual votes themselves, Mr Deputy Speaker, it's come to my attention there is a discrepancy between the number of votes recorded in the no lobby, which were read out in the chamber, and the numbers later published on the voting lists. So is the Leader aware of any of her party's members who perhaps didn't want to vote against our motion but to avoid controversy with their whips marched through the lobby but didn't scan their pass and therefore avoid publication of their names? Could she also clarify whether yesterday's vote was a confidence vote or not? Downing Street said it was. Then a number 10 special advisor told the Climate Minister say that it wasn't, which he duly did from this dispatch box, causing confusion on his own side. And at 1:30 this morning, number 10 suggested in fact that it was. And then the Transport Secretary told Kay Burley a few hours ago that it wasn't. We know the Prime Minister is infamous for her U-turns. This is beyond a joke. If it was a vote of confidence, when will the Prime Minister be removing the whip from her rebels? I also notice that the government has pulled our next opposition day. I can't think why. After yesterday, that they might do that. Are they punishing us for their chaos and their incompetence last night? Is the Leader aware of Standing Order 14, which allocates 17 days to the Leader of the official opposition party? They are falling behind, so will the government be giving us an opposition day on the week commencing the 7th of November? Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm glad the leader actually has some business to announce, given their complete inability to function. As well as chaos, we've got a raft of dropped legislation, broken promises, unmet manifesto commitments, and she can't blame the British people for asking what is the point of this government. Don't just take it from me, the former Home Secretary mentioned the very thing in her letter. She's raising concerns about the government breaking key pledges to voters, failing to honour their manifesto commitments. Someone had their Weetabix, or was it tofu, for breakfast yesterday. Perhaps the leader could provide some clarity on what further broken promises she's referring to. Can I also ask that the government sends ministers to answer urgent questions who can actually provide answers? Many important questions on national security went unanswered this morning in the urgent question relating to the sacking of the Home Secretary. Sorry, resignation, was it? Mr Deputy Speaker, out of touch, out of ideas, unable to govern, too busy trying to get through an hour by hour, minute by minute, worsening Tory psychodrama, rather than focusing, I see it's happening in front of my very eyes, on the serious issues facing all our constituents, not just mine, theirs as well. They've crashed the economy, they've left working people to pick up the bill, and now they're falling apart. This is a Tory crisis made in Downing Street. They're letting everyone down. The Prime Minister has clearly lost the confidence of her party, and her party's lost the confidence of the country. It is time for a general election so that a Labour government can deliver a fresh start for the British people.
Leader.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And can I start by thanking the Speaker for his statement at the start of business, which I do wholeheartedly endorse. We have ways of organising ourselves in a party system in this place, but ultimately we are all individuals making judgments about what is in the best interests of the country and our constituents. And sometimes votes are about more than the issue that has been debated. Last night's Labour motion was an attempt to seize control of proceedings, and we all know that that was deliberately done to enable campaigns today about members' views on fracking, and to spark the usual social media outrage, and I know that Twitter has taken down some accounts today. This is standard operating procedure by Labour, and many members on this side of the House have worked hard to ensure that fracking is rightly not imposed on their community, and it is by their efforts that fracking is not in their community, and it is the government's policy that to allow fracking where there is consent. And if we want to take the temperature down in this place, I suggest we take the temperature down outside of this place too. I'm happy to go on record to say that I am against bullying both in Parliament and outside it too, and I hope that is the view of all members of this House. The country does need stability and it needs calm, and I'm glad to say that is the effect that the Chancellor is having. Market functioning has improved, borrowing costs have been lowered, and the pound is strengthening, but there is more to do. Despite the very volatile global economic conditions, the economy remains resilient. Unemployment is at its lowest level for nearly 50 years, and the UK is forecast to have the fastest growth in the G7 this year. Elsewhere, good work is going on in government too, in contrast to the picture painted by the Honourable Lady opposite. Just this week, the Lord Chancellor has opened up the legal aid system to make it easier for victims of domestic abuse to get access to free legal aid and representation. We've had huge wins in the Department for Trade, 100 million trade win for the drinks industry, and huge infrastructure project wins. We've announced nearly 800 million to support research centres with breakthrough new treatments, 180 million to support children's development in their early years. DWP has launched a new service which helps businesses support members of their workforce who have a disability or become sick. Earlier this week, we passed the Energy Prices Bill, removing the worry for households and businesses of their energy costs, and we are introducing the Transport Strikes Bill, providing protection for the travelling public who rely on rail services to get to work or go about their daily lives. I hope that the Labour Party will back us and the fed-up commuters to protect those services. Honourable members opposite have been running around saying in office but not in power all this week, and I think that's probably a more accurate description of Labour's relationship with their trade union paymasters. We are getting on with the job, and further business will be announced in the usual way.